الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us this day of Jum'ah in this blessed month of Ramadan. The blessings of the day of Jum'ah doubles when it happens to be in the month of Ramadan. And this is a very rare opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses an individual. So we ask the Almighty Allah to grant us the ability to take benefit from this. We ask Allah to grant us the khair of this day. And we ask Allah to protect us from all types of evil. Allahumma inna nas'aluka min fuja'ati al-khayr wa na'udhu bika min fuja'ati al-shar. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen. The second portion of Surah Al-Baqarah, which we concluded and completed yesterday, and started the next surah, Surah Ali Imran. In the second portion of this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off with Sifatul Mu'mineen. Because after that, ahkam, orders, rules and regulations of Islam has been mentioned. And for a person to be mindful of all of these rules and regulations and the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he needs to have certain characteristics and certain sifat in his life, which Allah Azza wa Jal describes in this ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, which starts with لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس. Allah Azza wa Jal has given certain characteristics that a believer needs to develop in his life in this dunya. These are 10 sifat that Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned in detail and in a very unique way. That when a person he wants to be on the path of success, then these are the characteristics that he needs to worry about developing inside himself. And then the very unique method of starting this ayah is Allah says, what is righteousness? Because in this world, a person looks for righteousness. He wants to do things which are making him righteous. He wants to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through him doing righteousness. So Allah says righteousness is not about things. A person looks like, he's a righteous person. A person starts to wear the libas of the righteous person, or he starts to look like one, starts living in a certain way that people might consider him as righteous. These are not the characteristics of righteousness. Because the people of Medina, the Jews, they were telling the Muslims that how can you be a true believer when you have changed yourself from the Qibla? Allah says this is not the criteria of righteousness. Where you're going to face, how you're going to dress yourself, how are you going to present yourself, what people are going to say by your looks. No. Righteousness is what? When you bring iman on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you bring iman on the day of judgment. When you bring iman on the malaika. And you help out other individuals. وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى. You start spending on those who are the most closest to you. وَالْيَتَامَى, and those who are orphan. And you fulfill your promises. You have patience over difficulty. When someone says something to you, you endure it and you start having patience over it. So sifat are the things that makes an individual, not what you surround yourself with. And then Allah Azza wa Jal says, when you build yourself on sifat, then all the ahkam, which Allah starts off on qisas, and finishes at dain. The first hukum in this abwabul bir, as the mufassirun has given the title of all of these ahkam that are mentioned from this ayah of Laysal birra an tuwallu until the end of Surah Al-Baqarah. These are all called abwabul bir, the chapters of righteousness. Once you build sifat inside, then all of these chapters of righteousness comes inside you. Siyam comes inside. Sadaqah comes inside, nikah comes inside. Everything that is mentioned in the Islamic rulings, all of that a person is able to practice on them when he builds sifat inside. But if a person is trying to work around other things, he's not working on himself. He's not rectifying himself. Then all of these outwards actions, they're just going to stay outwards. A person's salah will be just from the outside. A person's fasting is just going to be from outside. It's not going to have any effect inside until he does not build sifat. So the last portion of this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has talked about in detail that ahkam will be fulfilled when you have sifat inside. And they're going to they will become the means of your rectification if you have sifat and characteristics and qualities inside you. And then also towards the end of this surah, Allah talks about, Allah Azza wa Jal has brought many great signs. The greatest ayah of the Quran is also located in this surah. The greatest ayah of the Quran is Ayatul Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. This is the greatest ayah of the entire Quran, which has the most amount of attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the powers of Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the person who recites Ayatul Kursi before going to bed, nothing of harm is going to come across him. And if a person was to recite this ayah after salah, Allah will protect him till the next salah. So this is an ayah that we are supposed to recite as much as possible. Whenever a person is feeling very low inside, recite Ayatul Kursi and it will give you that great boost inside your heart and iman. Another ayah which is mentioned in this surah is, the Mufassirun has given that this is the last ayah of the Quran which was revealed before the departure of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from this dunya. Some of the Mufassirun has mentioned, and this is the ayah, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. If you look at this ayah has been located immediately after the ahkam of riba, usury, interest. Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. Allah says, O believers, if you believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment, then do not come close to interest. And if you come close to interest, then you are coming in war against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You and against Allah Azza wa Jal. There's going to be a war for you in this dunya. And then Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Be fearful of that day when everyone will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. And Allah will compensate you for all the actions that you have done in this dunya, either good or bad. If you have done good, then there will be good for you in akhirah. And if you have done bad, and we ask Allah to protect all of us, then these consequences are going to be very difficult. And then towards the end of the surah, Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that a believer is the one who is always supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's always making dua to Allah, and that's why the last ayat of this surah has been dedicated towards supplication. Supplication that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would ask every single day to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some of the things that we should try to bring into our practice. Now the next surah is Surah Al Imran, which we only recited 2 pages of this surah in yesterday's recitation. Surah Al Imran is surah number 89 according to the sequence of revelation, surah number 3 according to the sequence of Quran. This surah was revealed after Surah Al Anfal. So 87 was Al Baqarah, 88 Al Anfal, and 89 is Al Imran. Surah Al Imran, a big portion of this surah was revealed in the 2nd year of Hijrah during the Battle of Badr. Also, the other portion of this surah was revealed in the 9th year of Hijrah when a group of Najran, Wafdun Najran, an expedition that came from Najran to Madinatul Munawwara, and this surah speaks about all of these in detail. Now the beginning portion of this surah, the overall theme of this surah is الثبات على أوامر الله, steadfastness on the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How are you going to fulfill the orders of Allah which are mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah? Is when you stay continuously on the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need steadfastness, you need perseverance. Without perseverance, a person is not able to fulfill the orders of Allah. Ahkam mentioned in Baqarah and Ali Imran, Thabat, the hukum of steadfastness is mentioned. Also, going back all the way to Al-Fatiha, the three groups were mentioned, Al-Mu'minun, and then غير المغضوب عليهم and ضالين. Surah Al-Baqarah is the tafsir of غير المغضوب عليهم. And Surah Ali Imran is the tafsir of ضالين. And that's why the Nasara have been mentioned about Isa alayhi salam and his mother Maryam radiallahu anha and the family of Imran, because this is the surah that is dedicated. Ali Imran means the family of Imran, and this is a blessed family. And the Wafd of Najran that came to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they asked certain questions to Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam about Isa alayhi salam and about the family of Imran. And Allah Azza wa Jal revealed answers in this surah. So inshallah we'll continue from here. Tomorrow we ask Allah to grant us the understanding and the ability to practice. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallahi wa bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta